Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. You are listening to Sofa Sessions. I am your host, Melissa Williams. I'm so excited to have you guys tonight. Listen, today is Wednesday, and you know, every Wednesday, this is where we meet. Same place, Facebook Live and on YouTube. Listen, as you're coming in, I want you to make sure you greet us. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're ready to have this conversation. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation. If you're ready, type I'm ready. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. So listen, as you're coming in, I want you to share and tag and invite. Hit that little button at the bottom of your screen. Also, I want to make you aware that tonight, I'm so excited for all of you that are going to be tuning in tonight. Tonight, I want you to do something very special for me. I want you to make sure you go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And guess what? You're going to keep up with everything that we have going on. So listen, so good to have all of my good girlfriends, all my ladies and my gents. This is tonight of Sofa Sessions. I am your host, Melissa Williams. So excited to have my guest here tonight, Mr. J. Barnett. He's going to give us some inspirational nuggets. He's going to give us some wisdom, and we're going to have conversations. What do men want versus what does a woman need? How many are ready to have this conversation? Listen, I want you to make sure tonight you submit your questions. We're going to try to get into those questions sometime tonight. As you know how we normally do, I want you to make sure that you're engaging with us. Make sure anything that we're talking about, something that you want to make sure that we talk about a little bit more. If you have questions, comments, put those in the comment section, and we're going to make sure we get to them. Let's see who we're going to give a shout out to tonight. Hello, Shandy. Good to see you. J. Rose, good to see you. So glad to have you tonight. Hey, Tina Hawkins, good to have you tonight. And Timothy Richardson, Kim Perez, what's going on, girl? Good to have you. So listen, I want everyone to do me a favor. I want you right now to go. I'm going to do it as well. Go to the bottom of whatever device you're watching me on. I want you to go ahead and share it tonight. I'm going to share it as well. And I want everybody to know that we are live. So let's do it together. All right, we should be sharing. Go ahead and share, start your watch parties, and then we're going to get right into this conversation. Listen, I want to give you a few announcements tonight for those of you that are just joining us. This is Sofa Sessions with Melissa Williams. We meet here every Wednesday night, and we have real talk, real conversations, and real people, and we discuss real issues. Also, we bring in special guests every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I promise I'm always going to bring someone to the sofa that's going to give us some great information. Let me give you a few announcements why you guys are sharing your watch parties and starting your watch parties and sharing this broadcast. I want you to make sure every Wednesday night and every Thursday, you meet me right here on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Can somebody say YouTube? I need you to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that is Melissa F. Williams, okay? Everybody, subscribe tonight, subscribe. So let me give you a couple of announcements. For those that are just tuning in, this is your first time watching. I am Melissa Williams. I am your host of Sofa Sessions, real conversations, real issues, and real solutions. And watch this, real people. Listen, every Thursday, meet us at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Sisters Sold Out to Slay. And that is going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow, Sisters Sold Out to Slay, Midday Manna is when I have some of my bad girlfriends come in and we're slaying, whether in ministry or business, but all the time it's a dynamic conversation that most girlfriends need to listen in. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we're going to have none other than Shadira Allison. We're going to have Valerie Smith, Tanya Williams, the fabulous Marlo Moore, and also April Vaughn. So you want to make sure that you get all your good girlfriends on this Thursday. That is tomorrow. Now, listen, those of you that have been inboxing me and emailing me, I want you to make sure that you stay tuned on to everything that we're doing. Make sure you check out Melissa's Cutique. That is for all of our custom t-shirts. We have some that says, I am the mother of a black son. Sisters stand with black men. We also have t-shirts that's called Pretty Preachers Preach. So listen, we have a variety of t-shirts and my best-selling books. Check out Melissa's Cutique and watch this. You're not going to be sorry that you did. One more announcement for those that are writing their books. I want you to make sure that you email us your manuscript if you're interested in publishing your book. And that is going to be at shespeakspublishing@gmail.com. For all of the wannabe authors, you want to be a bestseller, but you got to start somewhere. I want you to make sure if you're interested in publishing your book and you need a publishing company, make sure you email us at shespeakspublishing@gmail.com. Let's see, what other announcements do I have? Make sure those of you that have logged on to us and you've been following us for a while, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, you want to make sure you check out Candy Kiss Cosmetics. That is our cosmetic lines where we have lip gloss, lip stains, and you name it. Listen, if you're not buying it for yourself, buy it for your wife, your girlfriend. We have some fabulous new summer and spring colors that we want you to make sure you check out. All right. So listen, I am so excited tonight. I want to know what city you're watching me from. Please let me know what city you're watching me from, and we're going to make sure that we give your city a shout out. I want everybody tonight to make sure you go ahead and share and start your watch party. This is going to be a great conversation. I want to know all of my singles. Type on the screen, I'm single. I want to know who all the single that are chiming in tonight. Let's see. Hey, Shantae, I see you. She says she's ready. Smith, I see you. She says she's ready. Carrie, Red Baby Hill says, I'm ready to listen. Great. Laquetta, good to see you tonight. So I'm so excited to have everybody here. Again, make sure you tune in to us every Wednesday night. We're going to be right here for Sofa Sessions. If you have not followed us these past few Wednesdays, you have been missing a treat. All right. We have had some phenomenal conversations. And it's going to get even better because tonight I'm so excited to have my guest here. Listen, he is going to share some wisdom and knowledge with us. This is going to be one of those conversations where a lot of people have questions. We're going to make sure we try to give you the answers from a male's perspective, from a woman's perspective. And this is just not geared towards singles, okay? This is geared towards singles, men and women. And also we're going to dive into mental health because this is one of the most important conversations that I believe many a times we really don't talk about in our community. So without further hesitation, I want to get my guest in. He's in the studio and I'm so excited to have him. Let's get him in the room. Mr. J. Barnett, how are you tonight?
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great. So good to have you tonight. Have you had a good day?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a therapist, so every day is good when it's over, but you know, nonetheless, it's good. So yeah, okay. I'm sitting backstage, and I mean, I felt like I was in church with these announcements, man, and I was just kind of like, "Woo, Lord, have mercy." I'm just joking.
Listen, we're trying to get all the information out here while you were in the green room getting yourself together. We just wanted to make sure that everybody knew everything that was going to go on with Melissa Williams. But I'm so excited to have you tonight. We actually did a survey for a lot of people on Facebook to try to find out exactly what were the conversations they wanted to talk about. And as you know, this theme tonight is what men want versus what women need. And I think this is a vital conversation in so many aspects because I honestly think we look at things differently. Our perceptions are different. And so tonight, I know a lot of people are very interested in what the therapist has to say. So let's chime right on in. You ready?
Man, listen, you putting a lot of pressure on me tonight, Queen.
No.
A lot of pressure on me tonight.
This is no pressure to you. This is what you do all the time. So listen, I know a lot of people don't know many about you, but just in case you guys do not know who Mr. J. Barnett is, I want to read just a little bit of his bio because he is a phenomenal man doing major things in business and ministry. And I love what he's doing for the men. So let's talk about Mr. J. Barnett. Jay Barnett is the author, he's a speaker, he's a mental health therapist and life coach. Jay Barnett is on a mission to empower, inspire, and initiate fire into the minds of men and women across the globe, helping them become their best selves. He's a former professional football player turned marriage and family therapist. Jay has more than 10 years of experience as an acclaimed youth mentor, author, and motivational speaker. He's translated the lessons and strategies learned on the field into meaningful lessons for life and developing a winning mindset. He created a personal and social development program called the King Program. I love that. Knowledge is necessary. game. Listen, if I don't read anything else about his bio,
Yes.
that says enough by yourself. He actually is the author, and I want to chime into that a little later on in the conversation, because he and I was talking about this book last night, and I know the ladies, you got to get it because I got to get it, all right? But let's dive right into this. Jay, tell me about the King's program.
So the King program is an 8-week program that I created for Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas. And so it is a personal development program. And this program helps young incoming freshman males adjust to college life. But also we teach these young men how to have a vision, how to have a mission, but we're also taking them through a journey of how to develop emotional intelligence. So one of the things that I am a real stickler for is being emotional intelligent. And it's very necessary for young Black males to understand that you have to be able to manage your emotions. And so we're going into our second year with this program. And also this program is being conducted in a few schools outside of Chicago. And it's a program that I'm very proud of. I have 4 amazing gentlemen that help facilitate this program. And it's a program that hopefully that we're going to continue to expand it because I think emotional intelligence and teaching men how to be able to express themselves in a very healthy manner is very needed, especially during these times.
I love that. So teaching men how to become more emotional attached. Would you be, how do I phrase this? Do you believe that we call Black men, we always say that they're unemotional attached to women. Do you think mental capacity has a lot to do with how men relate to women?
I wouldn't necessarily say the mental capacity. I would say the environment that Black men were shaped in. So
Wow.
many of the Black men were Black boys that were raised to either they became a surrogate father to their siblings or they were a surrogate husband. And so many of them carried the role and adopted this mindset as what we call the Superman complex. And so feeling that you had to take care of the house, you were the man of the house. And so many men adopted this mentality and adopted this pathology for their life during that time, not knowing how it would affect them in a later season in their life. So in that, on the other end of that spectrum, they were not given the space or allowed to be emotional. So men were not allowed to cry. Boys were told to man up. They were told crying is for little girls, so men were not given that space. So, and here's the other thing, right? So the conundrum in all of this is that boys were raised not to be emotional, but now that there are men, we're asking them to be emotional.
Wow. Wow. And it's hard for them to do.
So, and it's hard for them to do because you're asking somebody to function in a capacity in which they don't have the ability to do because they've never been taught properly how to do that. So the only way a man can, the only emotion most men know how to express is anger.
Wow. Why is that?
Because again, until you are put in a space to understand what your emotions are, you don't know how to express them until you have been given the tools that when I feel anger, what do I do? For most men, we have adopted or we self-medicate. This is why you have men who are addicted to porn. You have men who are promiscuous. You have men who commit crimes, is because I don't know how to process what I'm feeling. And so this is why I think it's important with the work that I do as a therapist to be a Black man as a therapist, because there hasn't been any representation in the mental health field. Most definitely, most of us, I didn't see a Black therapist. When I was going through therapy, I had a white male therapist. And so I think it's important for men to see other men talking about, okay, it's okay for you to have your feelings hurt.
Yes.
And what we fear as men is that if I'm emotional, how will you view me as a man? Will my masculinity be challenged? This is why most men don't open up emotionally. You know what I mean? Because I think what it comes down to is most men fear being emotional blackmail. So if I show my emotions and if I express that, what are you going to do with that? Because there's been time most men that I have counseled, right, that when they have been open emotionally, most women look at them as like, oh, what are you crying about? Why your feelings hurt?
Yeah.
It should be about me. And I think one of the gentlemen said it in the comments over here. It shouldn't be about what a man wants. It should be about what a man needs. And let me be honest with you, women. We are just as emotional as you are. It's just expressed in a different facet.
Okay, so we're talking about the different facets of what a man needs and what a woman needs. You said so much right then, but what I heard you saying is sometimes when a man becomes vulnerable to release or share his emotions, us women do not listen, so that way we don't connect with them. And most men are looking for that connection, not feedback all the time. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Here's the thing, and I say this often because when I'm working with couples, I often ask the woman, when he's talking, what do you hear?
Yeah.
When he's talking, what do you hear? Because here's what is happening a lot of times when we are often communicating or trying to communicate, is what was said, it's what was heard, what was intended, and how did I interpret? So many times, right, if you're not listening to gain an understanding, right, so what happened is most women begin to respond, right? They're listening to respond rather than listening to have an understanding. And men, we don't, and I want women to really hear me on this. Men, we don't communicate the same. So for us, it may be one or two words.
Yeah.
Because our processes are different. Most of us as men, we process through silence, right? Women process through talking, right? You guys have to talk through things. This is why you have girl talk. This is why you have girl time. Like you never see men with book clubs, right? You know what I'm saying? You're never going to see a man getting together and having a wine night with, there's just not something that we do. Yeah. But for women, that comes natural to you. So in this space, even the way God created us, right? Because he didn't create us to work in redundancy. He created us to where who we are and who we not balance each other. So in the space that there's a deficit to where I can't express myself, you know what I'm saying, through my emotion, you provide the space to just listen to me, even if I can't say what that is.
Wow. Wow. And listening to you, I think a lot of women, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective because we love to talk. As you said, we like to talk things out. And I think when we get with men, they kind of pull back when we talk too much. Because like you say, men like to operate in silence. But what happens when the man is silent and the woman feels that she's not being heard? How do you intertwine that communication?
So when you, so let me get this straight, because I'm going to put my therapy hat on. You said when he's being silent and you feel that you're not being heard, that's two different things. Because if he's being silent, if he's not talking, that means he's listening to you. So you have to ask yourself, what is the response that you need from him in order to feel like that you connected to him? Does that make sense?
Say it again. One more time,
does that make sense? Because again, because if I'm not talking while you're talking, I'm listening. So what I think many times as a woman, you have to determine what is it that you want from him, right? And so many times women have to be open to understanding that we can't read your minds and vice versa. So in order to communicate with anyone effectively, you have to be clear on what is it that you need to feel from how you guys communicate. Because many times we all respond differently based on how we're feeling. And for most women, when they're not feeling heard, they feel rejected.
Yes.
So in that space, you have to be clear to say, hey, what do you think about what I'm saying? You know, what are your thoughts on what I'm saying? And maybe he don't have thoughts in that moment. And maybe he say, you know, let me kind of think about it and process. But being okay to allow him to process and to have an understanding that his process does not mean that he did not hear you and he's not paying attention. His process meaning that he's thinking so he can give you a correct response that you need. But you have to be clear, and we both have to be patient.
Okay. Yeah.
We both have to be patient. This is why church people fail in relationships.
Stop, Jay.
No,
Come
really
on.
not. Because
Come on.
because church people learn how to do church, but they don't learn how to do relationship. Because
Woo.
marriage is not done from a spiritual place; it's done from the natural. So you still have to be able to understand how each other communicate, not love language, meaning that how do we communicate?
Yes, yes, yes.
Meaning that if I don't say nothing, you have an understanding that I'm not ignoring you, I'm just processing. And in my space of processing, it is how I am determined, how do I respond to what you're saying? And then in your processes is that you're talking through your processes. So again, we're both different, but we can both reside in the same space once we give each other the grace that we don't communicate the same, but how we communicate is effective for what we need in our relationship.
I
And
think
that's
most
what
women
are not teaching.
The church is not teaching that because I think the church really teaches us how to be pretenders. The church teaches us how to act like things are good when things are not really bad. And so our communication is flawed in so many areas. You said something about men and how they really give us the ability to understand their language. Is it true and is it fair to say, as far as a man letting us know how he operates, our communication is different? Is it fair to say that most women, we may misjudge your actions because men may not talk, but they'll show you in what they do? Meaning a woman to say, but he didn't say anything, and I told him to take the trash out, and I told him to do this, and I told him to do that, but yet he didn't say I got it, but the next morning the trash was gone. But she's still bickering because he didn't respond verbally. Do you think that's a fair thing that we do?
Well, and here's the thing too, right? As sometimes as women and even in therapy and counseling, I'm often challenging a client to, you have to remove the idea that you have about how it's supposed to be.
Yes, I agree.
That's what you have to do, right? And once you remove the idea, it allows you to work from a space and to create a foundation that, okay, how does Charles likes to be talked to? You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna tell you something, right? When you think about men and you think about how God created Adam and how we made in the image of him, and here's a point of women, and this is not so much to think of to be associated with stroking a man's ego, right? Because they think, well, I'm not trying to stroke his ego. Here's the thing: behavior rewarded is behavior repeated. So in that sense, if you're wanting something to be done, start praising him for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of saying you need to or you should, then it should be like, man, it's I love when you help out around the house, and I like you, just an amazing, again, because again, men thrive. They may not tell you, but they thrive from being affirmed.
Yes.
Most men love languages are words of affirmation. And especially if a man grew up in a home where he did not feel that he was enough from his father. So again, when you're meeting people, it's so important and it's imperative to have these conversations on what was your childhood like. Because the childhood for the man or the woman is going to determine how they communicate and how they behave. And here's another thing that is important for us to have an understanding. What is your pain response?
Your pain response.
And here's what I mean about pain response. When you experience pain in a conversation or there's a disagreement, how do you respond to that? For an example, if we're having a disagreement, right? And there's something is said and you don't like what I said, and you hear in your mind, you feel that I abandoned you from walking away, right? So let's say we're having an argument, you don't like what I said, and you just like, I can't believe you said that. And I'm like, man, I'm tired of talking. And I walk away from you. Me walking away may feel like you're being abandoned. So that's your pain. That's the pain, is abandonment. The response is, what do you do when you feel abandoned? Do you act out? Do you get on the phone, call your girlfriend? Do you go to your mama? You know what I'm saying? Do you go grab a glass of wine? So most people don't understand what their pain response is, to be able to say, hey, listen, when I feel like I'm not being heard, I shut down.
Okay.
Shutting down is a result of the pain response that you feel like when you're not being heard. So it's important to understand that. That way you can communicate that with your spouse to say, hey, listen, you know, if I feel like I'm not being heard, babe, I'm going to shut down. Now that gives him an opportunity like, well, babe, I don't want you to shut down. What do you need from me when you're talking? And vice versa. But most people don't know those things. So what happens is I do it my way, you do it your way, and we never can meet each other. And so the relationship never becomes mutually beneficial to the both of us.
Wow. Wow. So do you think most of these behaviors stem from our childhood?
Absolutely.
Like, especially from women, because I'm talking from a woman's perspective. Most women, because I do a lot of mentorship, a lot of counseling, most women I've come to understand that their behavior or how they view something is really centered around how their father was, whether in the home or out of the home. If the father didn't affirm them, if the father didn't validate them, how he treated the mom. Is it fair to say our responses, whether male or female, is always going to be geared back to our childhood?
Everything that you are today is associated with your childhood. So when you come into therapy, what I do something called a genogram. And in this genogram, I'm going to start from your grandmother and from your grandfather. And I can tell about, I can discover or unfold your current behavior through going back to the genogram on how your mom communicated with your grandmother, the relationship that she had, or the relationship that your father had with your grandfather. So it's all intergenerational, meaning that it's all interconnected. So what happened is our family dynamics shape how we respond versus react, because many of us don't respond. This is why emotional intelligence is key, because you learn how to respond to the emotion and not react to the emotion. So many of us are dealing with childhood reactions that is not the boyfriend or the girlfriend or the husband, his wife. You're really responding to the trauma from your mom, or you're really responding to the trauma from dad. This is why it's important to go back and visit. Where did this come from? My boyfriend or my husband walking away from me and just said, hey, babe, come back and talk to me later about it. He never said that he didn't want to talk to me. He just said, let's talk about it later. But in your mind, the trigger is he's abandoned me. And it's not that he's abandoned me. It's associated with the abandonment that took place when you was 10 years old, because when daddy walked out, daddy never came back. So when husband walks away that says, I'm talking about it later, in your mind, you think he's not coming back, or you think he's going to be with another woman, or you think, well, mom always was gone a long time, and you found out later on in life that she was having an extramarital affair. So whenever your beautiful, attractive wife goes to do her ministry work or goes to do her thing, you feel like, well, it must be somebody else. And so you develop this fear, which is turned into control.
Wow, Jay. Now,
I want to break all of this down. So for the church people that are watching, I can tell you where this spirit comes from, right? Because we are quick to talk about it.
Tell us, Jay.
In the church realm, it's associated with the spirit of Jezebel. Now, here is where this is manifested in the spiritual realm into mental health. Jezebel was rejected by her dad.
True.
Her rejection from her dad, right? She had an overbearing and a very dominant mom. What is that? Black culture.
Black culture. Yes.
So I have a dominant mom, right? Me and mom don't get along. So from this broken place and from her childhood issues, Jezebel developed a spirit of manipulation and control, which became seductive, which became perverted, and was very narcissistic.
Yes.
So if I don't get my way, and if it don't look like the idea or the picture that I painted in my head, you must not love me. So, and if I can't detect that, I don't know what healthy love is. So I have to control. So now I have to either use what's between my legs, right?
Yep.
Or I gotta manipulate in some way
Yep.
Where now, if you're not gonna love me, you dang sure ain't gonna love nobody else. So this is where all of the toxicity and all of these things come from. And
Wow.
the reason why it's difficult for church people to have successful relationships is because we talk about when you come into Christ, you are a new creature. Old things are passed away. No, they're not, because nothing old passes away, and nothing new can emerge until you have an understanding of the old. So
wow,
we use that scripture without taking the opportunity to really go back and say, you know what? I'm saved. My spirit is saved. Your spirit is saved. However, your soul is bruised. And for this reason, right, when Paul talks about in 1 John, beloved, I wish above all things that you may as prosper and be in good health, as well as your soul prosper. Your soul is a tablet. Every negative experience, every traumatic thing that you ever experienced is engraved on their heart and in your soul. It's a tablet.
Yeah.
In the Greek form is called nephes, which is your mind, which is your soul. So what happened is you are in the spirit realm, it allows you to connect to God. But in the natural, you can't function in relationships.
Wow. Wow. So Jay, why do you think most people, and I think I know the answer, why do you think most people enter into relationships broken and not healed, but thinking they're going to have successful relationships? Let's just say they just got out of a 2-year relationship, and most people say the best way to get over something bad is to get involved with somebody else. So they don't give themselves time to heal, analyze, do a self-evaluation. How is it possible that people can think that they can enter into a relationship broken and then create something whole?
Right, exactly. And this is why you have two half people coming together often and making a whole mess. That's what you have.
Wow.
And this is one of the most dysfunctional things I ever heard, because you hear it a lot, even with men, right? For the men who can't process and can't really deal with a relationship that went wrong, one of the most dysfunctional and destructive and very just unhealthy things is when somebody says, well, the best way to get over one woman is to go get another.
Yep.
Dude, sit your butt down. Ma'am, sit your butt down. Deal with the issues.
Yeah.
Deal with the issues, because here's what's happening is that it's work to sit down and to look within yourself in that mirror and to see the image of brokenness, right? Because it's easy to enter into another relationship and camouflage your brokenness. And this is why you see people who are very serial daters, or they get out of one relationship and they get in another one. It's just kind of like, man, pump your brakes, slow down. So what it is people are running from the healing process, because the healing process is going to challenge you to look at the molestation. It's going to challenge you to look at the sexual trauma, the sexual abuse. You know what I'm saying? It's going to challenge you to really think about, how did your parents' divorce affect you? It's going to force you to look at, how did seeing your mom in this abusive relationship affect you? And again, prayer is great. However, you need counseling and therapy to help you process, to deconstruct this frame or this way of functioning that you've been functioning in. And that's why therapy is so important for people. And this is why I'm an advocate of prayer and therapy, because to be able to process and to feel, it makes you human. And I think too many times churches place a lot of emphasis on the spirit, right? Which makes us divine and able to connect with God. Because again, once God's anointing uplifts, you're a human being.
Yeah.
So people need to know more about, again, right? That's what happened with Elijah. He was depressed. How you killed all of these folks, and all of a sudden, all Jezebel did was send a threat and send him into a deep depression, and he had an anxiety attack, and God had to send. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, we have to be able to look at these things and be able to really take inventory that God wants us to deal with our mental health and to deal with our emotions.
I'm gonna be very transparent here. I myself had to do a self-evaluation because I realized I was a broken vessel and I was looking for a relationship that was going to fill the voice that I was feeling. I think many of times we are individuals, and I'm going to speak transparently. I think we're individuals that look for relationships sometimes to self-medicate us or to help feel something that literally is an internal brokenness. Because when you talk about the soul, that's will, mind, and emotions. And so what we do sometimes as a broken person, we don't want to do the Beyonce song, Me, Myself, and I. We don't want to do a self-evaluation. So we look for someone that we say to complete us versus someone that can accept us completely. Why do you think we do that?
Going back to what you said, self-medicating is easy because think about it, right? To really sit within yourself, and even when you're in therapy, and to really take the time to process the pain and the process, why do you feel the need to have another relationship when you just came out of one abusive or one destructive, or one unhealthy or dysfunctional relationship? Why do you feel the need for that? And many times it's because, especially if you're in church culture, right? Or pray about it, God will deliver you. But however, in order to keep your deliverance, you need to have a space where you can continue to process on how do I respond when I came out of an abusive relationship, right? I felt that God set me free. But then again, he calls me, hey, what are you doing? So having a place of therapy gives you the opportunity to say, okay, how did you feel when he called you? Well, my heart started racing. What was that feeling?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where you can explore those things. And I think part of it is that we don't really know how to do that. You know what I mean? We one of the books that I encourage everyone to read is called Emotionally and Spiritually Healthy, which is written by a pastor. And he talked about people who are spiritually equipped, but they are emotionally immature. So, you know what I mean? And it's a very powerful read to teach people how to really do the work within while having God and church and all those things to be able, as you say, okay, let me do an internal map. And that's what we do in therapy. And the internal map means that let me look at the last 3 relationships that I've been in. What is the common denominator? What is the common pattern that I have? I get into a relationship, right? I go all hard, and I'll even be transparent. So my dad is a pastor, has been pastoring 30 years. So him and my mom divorced when I was 13. And I saw a lot with them in the church that was just unhealthy. Like we lived one way on Monday through Saturday, and Sunday we was a first family. So by the time I started growing up and being the man of the house and looking after my mom and sisters, I often sought out women that not only reminded me of my mother, but gave me an opportunity to rescue my mother because I was trying to be to them what my father wasn't to her.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I got into therapy, right? And I began to see this pattern. Not that these were bad women or anything, right? But just, why do I keep choosing this? And you have to be able to look within yourself to say, why do I accept this type of behavior?
Yeah.
Because think about it. Nobody comes here accepting abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one comes here accepting, you know what I'm saying, cheating. These are things that we learn, right? In our experience, and our families shape us to where you begin to think this is normal.
Right. Dysfunction.
And you begin to normalize the dysfunction. And what happened is, before long, you are functioning in dysfunction, and it's become a way of life.
Wow.
Because
it handicaps us and it cripples us because we're never fully developing to become who really we're destined to be. I remember a situation where my dad was a pastor, and so I grew up too, like in the church, seeing everything, but living a whole nother world before we go to church. And so I grew up unconsciously looking for my father. And so I would get into relationships with people that wouldn't give me what I wanted from my dad, meaning I wanted them to validate me. I wanted them to make me feel I was their everything. Why? Because my dad did not have time to pour into me as a daughter. But when I realized that was the common denominator of my choices, I then had to go back and say, Melissa, you got to check this. Because what you're doing is you are angry with how he treated you, but you're accepting what somebody else gives you. And
Yep.
I think that's when we have to do the work.
Yes.
And be honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Because anytime you don't give to yourself what you're wanting from someone else, you will always be at the mercy of those people.
Ooh, say that again, Jay. One more time.
Anytime you don't give to yourself what you want from someone or want someone to give to you, you will always be at the mercy of them. And then you will have to deal with the consequence of what you didn't get.
Wow. Wow.
Because you got to give it to yourself first.
Yes, to thine own self be true.
Again, and this is why it's so important to become, and my quote is, healing is a journey and wholeness is the destination. And that's the destination you're working toward. And all healing is, and getting to that journey and processing, it doesn't take away your experience, right? However, it alters the impact that your experience has on you, that you can acknowledge the pain, however, you don't become the pain.
Okay. One more time. Acknowledge the pain.
You can acknowledge
so you won't become,
and you don't become the pain. Because many times I am helping people to understand you are not the experience. Because if you're not careful, you will take the experience in every area of your life, and this will create what we call a cognitive distortion.
Cognitive distortion.
So a cognitive distortion is when an individual begins to perceive their reality inaccurately. And one of the most common cognitive distortion for many of us, you begin to overgeneralize. You begin to emotional reason with yourself. And when I say overgeneralize, meaning that one negative experience, right, you allow it to dictate that's how every experience will be.
Yeah.
And so when you have not experienced what a healthy relationship looks like, unhealthy becomes normal and it makes sense to you. So anything other than that doesn't feel like this is good. I've seen people enter into a relationship where it was love, it was healthy, they could free to be themselves, and they was just kind of like, this ain't love. Right. I'll never forget this. Personally, I was in my 20s dating a girl, and we was cool. It was chill. Yeah. And she said to me, wow, we've been dating for 6 months and we never had an argument. And I was like, we cool, right? Things are good. And she was like, this is strange to me. I was like, why is it strange to you? She says, well, I feel like if we're not having an argument, then you don't love me.
Wow. Wow.
And I was just like, huh? I said, and my mom said, baby, what's wrong with peace?
Right. Right. Right.
Said, what's wrong with peace?
Yeah.
But when you have learned, and this has been a way of life for you, dysfunction, right, is only where you feel that you can thrive, because it's created a false pretense, right, that this is love. And to be truthful about it, it's just only infatuation, and what we call is trauma bonding. You are bonding with people that you have a connection with the trauma.
Wow. Okay. Okay, let me gather.
I'm pouring a lot on you tonight. I'm sorry.
Listen. Okay, so let's shift these gears. Okay. We've had our therapy moment. All right. And I know the comments are blowing up. Okay.
And this is kombucha, just for people who are wondering, this is not alcohol. I'm not talking to the bishop drinking.
I'm gonna get you, Jay. Okay, so listen. A lot of women on here and a lot of men are on here, and they're listening to this conversation. And most people that are single across the board would say there are no good men or good women out here. Most women are going to say, I don't think there's any good men out here. I always contradict that because I say, well, as long as I'm single, it got to be at least one. But what do we do as a woman? Like, what do you think are the 3 top things that women make a mistake in doing in, watch this, in the courting or just meeting somebody? I got my answer, but I want to know what you think.
I think one of the biggest mistakes is romanticizing and creating an idea and fantasizing about the relationship and about what it's supposed to look like. I have sisters, and my mom is one of 12 sisters, so I'm around a lot of women. So, and I've had to ask questions, and there's been times for myself, right? I meet a woman, it's cool, and she's talking about some business stuff, and I have a female manager, and like she really had to teach me. She was like, dude, you think this lady trying to work with you, but this woman, like, she already fantasized about you, her husband. Y'all gonna got married. And I think so many times women moving so fast here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest mistakes, is creating an idea. Allow things to develop. And also, I think one of the biggest mistakes is that we don't talk about is that men have a difficulty of accepting rejection, but women have a difficulty understanding rejection.
Wow.
So in that space, and I just want to, because today you hear a lot of people say, well, he ghosted me, or you know what I mean? And being able to understand that rejection is a matter of perception.
Yeah.
Right? And if that situation doesn't turn out how you thought it would, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you're not wife material. And it doesn't mean that, there are no good men. It just means that situation was not for you. So being able to allow it to go at a pace, but then being intentional. To me, I always have to debunk this thing that men are hunters. Because if I'm operating in the mindset of a hunter, once I kill what I'm hunting and I conquer it, then I don't have any use for it. So what I like to say is I want to be intentional. So even in your intentionality, you want to use wisdom, but then to allow whatever it is to develop and just to really see what does, what I'm saying? And then too, just to have an honest conversation, just to talk, like even in the dating phase. I think too, and especially in the church, we don't really know how to date because the Bible doesn't talk about dating.
Right.
The Bible doesn't talk about courtship. So we really don't have an understanding of how this process goes, right? The Bible is only clear about marriage. And even in single people, doesn't have a lot of context on, you go on 10 dates and then after 10 dates, you say, oh, I'm going to marry. Like, it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
So lastly, ladies, don't compare what is going on in someone else's yard according to, and not giving attention to your yard.
That's good.
What I mean? And so to be very mindful that, well, she met him in 6 months. You know what I mean? He proposed, he got married, and then the guy you meet, you looking for him to propose in 6 months. And it's just, again, that whole love and first sight thing, it's a fantasy.
I think love is overrated. That's just my honest opinion.
It's very overrated.
Yeah, I think love is so overrated because it's going to take more than love to sustain a relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think I counsel so many women. I have so many ladies that I mentor, and I always challenge them, like, what do you love about him? You've only known him for 6 days, not 6 years, not even 6 months. But in 6 days of dating him, you have picked out your wedding gown, who's going to be your bridesmaids, how many babies you're going to have. And I always have to bring her back to the alignment of the reality. But you don't know him.
Yep.
What's his mom's name?
Yep.
What's the last relationship he got in? I mean, tell me something about him that you love about him. And she says, well, he makes me feel good. I'm happy when we talk. And so I always tell them, but you haven't connected to him yet. You don't even know him. You've met the conversation of him. And so I always tell women, listen, slow down, back up, because as soon as you meet him, that doesn't mean that he's your husband material.
Yes. Please say that louder for the folks in the back, because I think, and also too, right? You know, I, like I said, God has given me a great anointing to combine spiritual context and reveal mental health from a psychotherapy lens, to break down the psychoanalytics and what the Bible, because the Bible is a very psychological book. Every prophet had a mental health issue. I've done a case study on it. I've written about it. Like every prophet, everybody that God used had a mental health disorder, from depression all the way down to autism. Many people don't know. You study, you know what I'm saying? Samson, he was autistic. So, which was one of the reasons why he could not effectively communicate. So that's a whole nother story. But the reason, so yeah, and the reason that I'm saying this is that when we're reading the Bible, right, the Bible was given as a format for us to follow, right? It was given for a blueprint, right? It was given for this is the framework that you live your life from. And just to help the women out, you are not Naomi.
Jay, say that for the people that's just coming into the sanctuary. Come on.
You know, stop looking for Boaz. That was the story. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened is now you begin to associate or attach the story to what you don't have in a reality, right?
Come on, Jay. Oh my God. Everybody's looking for Boaz, and so they want to be Naomi, but their lifespans, come on, they're messing things up.
Ruth. Yeah, I mean Ruth. And so it's like, you know, everybody's trying to be Ruth, and I'm like, no, like, be you. Your story is different from hers. You're not Ruth because Ruth. Yeah, you're not Ruth because she lost her husband. So her narrative was different.
Right. Her need was different.
And her need was different.
Yeah.
So in that space, right, being able to understand, like, I like the context of, you know, Ruth working in the field and being able to, you know, be in position to when Boaz sought out for her. But, you know, maybe your guy gonna slide in your DMs, or maybe he's gonna slide in your message. You know what I'm saying? So again, 2020 is very different from the biblical days.
Yeah.
So ladies, take off the expectations, number one.
Wait, Jay, let me look. When you were talking, in my mind, I was saying, one of the problems that we as women have is silent expectations. We have silent expectations going into the getting to know you phase. Not even talking about now we're going to make this thing official. We're officially dating. But in the friendship zone, we have silent expectations. And so most women, when they silently meet Junebug, they say, okay, Junebug, he this, he that. And so I want him to be this. And Junebug is simply saying, but I told you when I first met you, I don't even want to be married. I'm just looking for friendship. And so now she heard him, but she didn't listen to him. Yep. So she's angry now because her expectation was silently, I want him to be my boo.
Yep.
How do we deal with when we meet people and they tell us the truth, but you don't want to accept it?
Because they have those scripts. And what happened is a lot of women have scripts. Yes, you know, script like a movie script. And it's like, the script is the solid expectation. And it's like, okay, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. We're going to go on this many dates. Then you're going to ask me out. You know what I'm saying? Then we're going to get married. And then the man doesn't do it. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Mate, you missed the line. You missed the line. Cut. Because you didn't have these, you had these solid expectations rather than having an open mind to ask somebody and being able to accept when somebody doesn't want what you want. And that's okay.
Yes.
And being able to bow out gracefully.
Yeah.
And keep it moving and not feeling like I'm going to pray him to be my husband. I'm going to fast and God is going to show him that he's in my husband. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be careful to say, you know what I mean? I am someone who has a different background than the person that I'm trying to get to know. So in that space, we both have to be open.
Yeah. I think I say this a lot, and I'm going to say this here. And I know a lot of the people that are listening tonight, you've heard me say this before, but I always recommend to date your conversation. Date your conversation. What's your conviction? Date that. If you know you don't want a baby mama that got 8 kids and 10 baby daddies, figure it out. Why would you date someone or have time with someone that you know you don't want to be with someone who got extra children? If you know your conviction and your conversation says, I want a man that has no children, has never been married, has a job making 6 figures, we're going to work on that. And he got to have all his teeth. Let's just make it more fun.
Right.
Why would you date someone who's total opposite of that? And then you're angry when he doesn't meet your expectations. But you knew going in, he had 3 baby mamas. You knew he didn't have a job and live with his mama. So if you're not dating your conversation, you're going to be frustrated because that's something you chose to do.
Right, exactly. And being, and here's the thing, being honest with yourself save you from the future or possible hurt and pain that could have been eliminated had you had a conversation with yourself. And I'll even use myself. I'm 38 years old. I'm one of 7 kids. I'm one of 56 grandkids that doesn't have kids. Now, in saying that, when I meet somebody and they ask me, Jay, do you want kids? I say, yes, I want kids. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that I'm 38 and most women in my age bracket have probably got kids. They've been married, they divorced. You know what I'm saying? So in that space, like I was having a conversation with this lady and she said to me, she said, well, she was like, well, I would have to, have a kid within the next year or so if we were dating. I know you're not the person for me because I'm not giving somebody just to have a kid within a year because you're on a time clock. But then but then you can't have this understanding that you're going to miss out on something. And I think too many times, because I'm like, listen, it's okay. Like I have many ladies that I was interested in and they said, Jay, I'm going to be honest with you. That I had kids and their kids are grown, right? They were like, I'd never forget, this lady told me, she was like, dude, I got an 18-year-old. I'm not doing this again. It was no love lost. It was cool.
Yeah.
But we have to stop trying to make people want what we want. When you are in alignment to somebody who wants what you want, it's never going to be out of obligation. Too many times out of obligation and we're with people and we stand longer in relationship out of guilt.
Ooh, child.
And so you have to be honest with yourself. And I was just like we still cool, but I respect that. She was just like, I don't want to have any more kids. And I understand that, I'm in my late 30s. So again, and I'm not going into a situation telling a woman like, hey, what's your biological clock? What you thinking about anything? It's like, because the right woman, it will fit where I'm at in my life. And I'm not going to have to manipulate. I'm not going to have to move. I'm not going to have to control. I'm not going to have to do anything. But too many times we're trying to coerce somebody into wanting something that we want because we feel like we run out of time. You know what I mean? Or you feel like, well, if I don't take advantage of this, then another man may not come around. If I don't like, and I see a lot of women who operate in that space, and I'm just like, listen, sis, it's okay. And the lady said to me the other day at the gym, well, I got a kid, and if my husband want one, I guess I'll have one for him. And I said, ain't no way in the hell I would be with you. Because for one, I don't want you doing something just because I don't have it, and then you resent it later.
Wow. Wow, Jay. Wow.
Because we often do that, right?
Yes, we stay committed to false reality. The reality is that's okay. For me, I'm 45 years old. Okay. At this stage in my life, I'm trying to figure out, okay, if I meet someone, do I really want to have another child by him? I have a 26-year-old. I have a 26-year-old. I have a 23-year-old, and I'm 46. I've been married and divorced. Now, if I meet someone, do I really, really want to give them another child? Or do I want someone that's going to say, I'm going to accept your children? That is some of the conversations that I get from women because they're stuck between, well, he's a great guy, but what if he wants a child by me?
And you got to be willing to walk away from that because why? Because listen, here's the thing. I never forget a good friend of mine was kind of in a similar situation. She said, Jay, what do you think? I said, baby, because she was dating this dude. He don't have no kid. I said, baby, listen, you done raised your kids. You at a good place in life. Listen, if you truly believe that you just want to sail in the sunset, you want to travel the world with your book, stand on that.
Yeah.
Why get in something?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? And then later, because see, here's what a lot of people do. You use your heart to get in something, then you got to use your head to try to get out of it.
Say it again, Jay. They didn't hear you on the third row. Come on, Jay.
You let your heart get you in something that you got to use your head to talk you out of, to get you out of it. And it's just like, stick to what it is that you have a desire for.
Yeah, don't settle for anything outside of that.
Don't settle for anything outside of it. Like, I have met women that's like, dude, I'm done having kids, so we become good friends. I have a good friend right now who is in her late 40s that I would marry tomorrow. But we always joke about this, and she was like, dude, I'm done with kids. And she's like, Jay, I can't have no kids. This is never gonna happen. And we joke about it, you know what I'm saying? And she said, Jay, I would love, if I could have kids, I would love to have kids. But it's being able to embrace someone's truth and accept that, and not try to take their truth, right, and manipulate it to fit a need that you have. Well, I do want a man. I know he don't have any kids, but maybe I'll change my mind, because no, you're doing this to fit a need rather than just embracing this person's truth and saying, listen, I think you're a great guy. I think you're a great person. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, you know, you meet what you want and have it, and being able to walk away from that.
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
I mean a lot of women, and I've heard a lot of women talk about their experiences as far as men having side pieces. You're the main woman, but you found out he got a side piece. And I had this conversation with this lady not too long ago, and she was telling me that he said he just want to be friends, all right? And so she's giving him all the Jay, don't laugh. She's giving him all the woman benefits. And I said this one thing to her. I said, a real woman, not calling you or not, but a woman that knows herself is never going to settle in being someone's option. She's going to be the choice. And I say this all the time. If you got to be his option, that means you're going to be waiting in line for him to choose you. A man, I believe, and you can help me out, but a man at a certain point in his life knows what he wants. And if he knows when he meet you, if you fit that criteria, he's going to let you know it. You don't have to pull it out of him. You don't have to make suggestions, and you can be yourself when he chooses you. So help the ladies understand. You can be a choice and not an option.
You just said a mouthful. And one of the things I think is so important is for everyone, men and women, that if you lose yourself in a relationship, I am challenging you to reevaluate that relationship.
Yeah.
You should not lose yourself in a relationship. This is what happened when I see a lot of people who come in, and I ask them, married couples, when they come in for counseling, and I ask them, how is the relationship? Most of the time, it kind of, they stumble, like, what do you mean? Like, I thought we were talking about the marriage. No. The marriage is just the title. It's the entity of what your relationship represents, but what is the relationship like? And I'm saying, because the relationship determines the outcome of the type of marriage that you're going to have, not the marriage determine the relationship. So what happens is we don't take the time to develop in the relationship stage, and being able to say not so much of what your deal breakers are, but what is it that you need as a woman? What is it that you need as a man? Because oftentimes, and I tell brothers this all the time, sex is emotional for a woman. Sex is not emotional for a man. So I'm even telling brothers that are married that you have to connect to your wife's emotional state to get her to go to the.
Let's talk about the connection and the emotional state. How important is it? Because anybody can have sex, okay? But sex and intimacy are two different things, okay? And I think most women, I've counseled a lot of women. And so they believe because he slept with her, that means he loves her. Okay. Without a commitment, sex is sex. Okay. But how do we define intimacy and sex?
You define intimacy about what are you guys willing to put on the line?
Wow.
What are you guys willing to put on the line? Meaning, what are you both willing to share? What are you both willing to reveal? Because see, nowadays we have a lot of people that are having encounters, but they're not really having a vulnerable experience. The encounter is that we have this transaction that takes place, right? We come, we do our thing, and we go. But there's no real experience to where we get to experience the core of who we are as human beings. This is why you have a lot of people, even through social media, right? We're overly connected. Like you can connect to anybody, right? But we are under commune to the point to where we don't really take the time to really get to know the person beyond the exterior. And so to be able to connect on that level, it takes place in those conversations. It takes place in us being able to reveal things about ourselves that allow us to have these intimate moments. Because the intimacy represents, right, you being into me, being into see, intimacy, see in me, seeing in me, being able to see within me. Who am I beyond my title? Who am I beyond my job? Who am I beyond being a mom or being a dad? There's so many people, Queen, that are married, Melissa, that are not vulnerable and intimately connected to each other. I have sat down with many married couples that they will not be vulnerable to each other.
Wow.
And you really have to take time when you're getting to know people, right? Me personally, and I don't do this because of therapists. I think this is just something that I always, like, I kind of want to know, like, you know what I'm saying? What was your childhood like?
Yeah.
Question like that. Like, that tells you a lot about a person.
Yes. Yes, you know it does.
And if you see a person that's kind of tense, it's just kind of like, okay, maybe this is a touchy subject. Maybe we'll come back and visit this. But just really taking the time to communicate, like, what do you, beyond not so much of what you see yourself, like, what do you think about legacy? Questions like that. Because now I am challenging you, right, to speak about what's dear or what's connected to your heartstring, what's connected to how you see yourself moving forward. And then as this person is answering that question, engaging in that space. Oh, okay, you want to change the world. How do you want to change the world?
Yeah.
The question, that's intimacy. Sex is just kind of like, y'all flirting and you kind of get hot and that thing is, you know what I'm saying? Everything gets, all intensified. And then it's like, oh, we come together, we have this explosion and then it's over. But the intimate part is just kind of like, wow, thank you for sharing that, right? Like, wow.
Right. It opens up the side of us that's vulnerable, which allows someone to, like you said, see in me. And I think a lot of times we enter into relationships not seeing the other person because we don't take time to listen to the other person. Right. So let me ask you this question, because time is going, and I can keep you here talking all night.
Man, how long is this?
Listen, we're supposed to be off right now, Jay.
Oh, I was about to say. I was like, okay.
No, okay. So last question: if you had to name 3 things that a man needs, all right, what would those 3 things be?
I would say number 1 would be respect. Number 2 would be support. And 3 would be understanding.
Wow. Ladies, did you hear that? Say that one more time, Jay.
Number 1 being respect, support, and understanding.
Understanding.
And if I was to say, I'm going to go on a limb.
Come on a limb, Jay.
If I was to say, and also in that top 3, of course, sex is in there, ladies. Don't want to, you know what I mean? But I'm just speaking from beyond the physical part. I would say a woman needs attention, affirmation, and appreciation.
You hit it. Don't leave out sex. Women like sex too, Jay.
Oh yeah. Sex. I mean, of course, sex is up there. You know what I mean? But and that's just speaking from how we function. You know what I mean? And so we're very much alike, whether people believe it or not. Men and women are very much alike. And it's just, we just behave differently and we respond differently. And we just have to take more time. And thank you for this opportunity, because I think the only way for us to change the dynamic of how we see relationships is you got to have the conversation with men and women. So women are able to hear from men, and men are able to hear from women, because for so long, women are having these conversations and they're learning about men from other women with men. And the only way to get an understanding of how we function as men is being able to have a space and a platform where we can have healthy dialogue. Like not one time that you and I go, all men do this, all women do that. It's just a healthy dialogue, right? Because especially for us in church culture, right? We need a lot of help. And two, I think it's important for not only for us to talk about, mental health in the church setting and to talk about relationship, but also just to be honest with just the function of who we are as human beings, right? I mean, so many times that I see couples who come in, right? And before marriage, they had a lot of sex. And now that they're married, they're not having sex. The average couple, married couple, I kid you not, is only having sex probably 4 to 6 times a month. Shocker.
Jay, listen, I'm gonna drink on that one.
Yeah, seriously. Yep.
Are you serious? Why is that?
Because one of the things is that going back to what you said earlier, a lot of church folks got married, and I'm just gonna say it. A lot of church folks get married because y'all want to have sex, baby. Y'all don't want to live in sin. I get it. I had to tell a couple that I get it. However, did you know your wife was sexually abused?
Wow, Jay, we gotta end this, Jay. Jesus. Seriously? So when he finds that out late in the game.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
You wrong for this. I just want you to know. Yeah. Okay. We got to do this again.
Yeah, let me know, man. This was fun.
We got to do this again. Okay, Jay, for everybody that's listening, I totally recommend, and I know he's going to back me up on this, but if you have not received or thought it was cool or the mature thing to do to seek out a therapist, someone to talk things out. Yes, we're going to pray about it, but sometimes you need someone that can give you strategies to healing. Sometimes people can open up your box, the Pandora's box in your life, and remove skeletons that you didn't even realize was still there. Jay, for the final statement, how important is it for we as a Black culture, nothing against, my other friends, sisters, and brothers, but how important is it for us to seek out a therapist?
It's so important because the development and the evolution of who you are or what you become as a human being is going to be determined by how you deal with past trauma. And so it's important for us to really seek out help, and not to say that nothing is wrong. It's no different from a woman going in to get her yearly checkup exam. Is no different from a man. Having a therapist or a counselor or a coach or someone like yourself, it is good for your emotional and mental maintenance. And I encourage couples all the time. You don't go to therapy when you have a problem. You go to therapy to prevent having a problem. Yes. So it's important for couples to have a therapist together. And then it's important for the both of them to have their own therapist to where they can just go and process. Because here's what I believe. And I said this probably about a couple of weeks ago, and this lady like jumped down my throat. I said, I'm not dating anybody or marrying anybody that don't have a therapist. And I said, here's why. I said, I want my wife to have her own place where she can go and process. Too many of us enter into relationships and marriages, right? trying to be one or the other for the person, and we can't really focus on going the distance of the marriage or the relationship. So it's like your husband shouldn't be your therapist or your counselor. Your wife shouldn't be your therapist or your counselor. You should have a person for that. So when you come to your spouse, you can come to them ready to love. You can come to them open. You can come to them understanding what your triggers are. You can come to understanding your pain response, so you can clarify that, baby, this is my peace response. When I feel peace, I do this. Yeah. So it's being able to have those spaces, and too many times we have placed that weight on one another. And this is why Black people as a whole, when it comes to relationship, we often associate love with how much pain that we can take. And
Jay, I'm finna pull you out the studio.
No, put my Cash App down there with the rest of them.
Listen, guys, if you have really enjoyed Jay tonight, I want you to send him on his Cash App. Jay, what's your Cash App?
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, you ain't gonna put me out here for the people. Like, I'm not gonna give you nothing.
Nah, I was teasing. Oh, I mean, if you gonna if you gonna put me out there, if they want, they can. It's J Barnett ENT. So
J Barnett ENT. All right. So listen, guys, Jay has this book. I'm going to get ready to let him go, but I want every woman that's listening to me. He's written this phenomenal best-selling book. I'm going to get the curricular for my mentees, but it's called The Letters of a Queen. Letters to a Queen, right? Letters to a Young Queen.
Yes.
All right. Jay, I want everyone listening to me. Women, you need to get this book in your hand. Jay, how can they find this book?
So Letters to a tell them it's no the Cash App, it's the letter J Barnett, not Jay.
Okay, take that out.
It's just a letter.
She got it. She gonna fix it.
Yeah, it's just a letter.
Guys, what you can do is listen. If she's gonna put his Cash App up there, but if you still want to give to MWM, make sure you put to Jay, and I'll make sure I get it to him. But she's gonna put his Cash App up there. All right. So how can they get this book, Jay?
So the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and Kindle, and also if you wanted to download it, it's available on iTunes as well.
Okay. All right, Jay, this has been phenomenal.
Listen,
what you gonna say?
Listen, I'm gonna plant a seed. I want to plant a seed into your life. I'm gonna send it to you. I just want to be obedient because I love what you're doing, and I think this is great. And I made a vow to God that I'm just going to plant into whoever he tells me. And I want to do that because I love the platform, love your energy, and just what you're doing, for people to bring not only.
I'm not supposed to be doing this.
No, listen, I already had to be emotional day for work. Don't do that.
Okay, let me pull far away from the camera so they won't see the girl side of me. No, thank you for that, Jade. I really appreciate that. Yeah, guys, listen.
You are doing amazing. Please continue this up because this is a great platform, and I hope the people who watched tonight was blessed by it. I know I was blessed by it. So, and thank you for having me on.
You're definitely going to be back. Guys, listen, Jay got me all emotional right now. So the girly side of me has been vulnerable and I'm getting ready to cry, but I'm not going to do that for you guys to see it. Listen, I want you guys to make sure you stay tuned in to Sofa Sessions. Sofa Sessions is every Wednesday night right here on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Tomorrow is Sisters Sold Out to Slay. You don't want to miss this conversation. Listen, I want you guys to make sure you share and tag this broadcast. Make sure you go and meet DM Jay, email him, tell him how great you guys learned. I hope you guys learned something tonight. That's what I hope. I hope this was a very informative conversation for you. So what I want you guys to do, thank you. What I want you guys to do is to make sure you go ahead and submit your questions. I'm going to get Jay back on here, hopefully between the next week, 2 weeks and a half. We're going to get him back on here and we're going to have this conversation again. So listen, I want you to make sure that you guys are staying in tune, staying in touch. I love you guys so much. Listen, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I'm seeing your comments and stuff. You guys bless my life. I love you guys. Listen, again, tune in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Melissa Williams. Sister Sold Out to Slay is going to be at 1 p.m. Make sure you chime in. every Wednesday, Sofa Sessions with your girl, Melissa Williams. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Have a great night.